years and years ago, we partnered with Denford. Our company has been in business. Next year, we'll be celebrating, believe it or not, our 50th anniversary as a company. For more years than not, we have been associated with Denford and their fine products. Now, 50 years doesn't hold a candle to Denford. They've been around for 70 years now, and adding world-class value to education for that entire period of time. For any of you that have been to the ACTE, the national show that travels around the U.S., you know that they very, very heavily advocate for their F1 program and their F1 STEM challenge. And I've seen it firsthand at ACTE. We've seen it firsthand in our relationship with Denford. And it's along those lines this morning that Jordan from Denford shares a little bit with us about their F1, their Formula One STEM challenge, and the tools and equipment and machining centers that are associated with that challenge. So with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jordan. Thanks everybody for joining us. And Jordan, we're looking forward to your message this morning.
Thank you, Matt and Melissa, and welcome to rainy England. So I'm just going to share my screen so you can see everything that I'm doing and what I've got to show. So we'll start off by Denford. Who are Denford and what do Denford do? We're a machine tools company in the UK, in Yorkshire, and we produce, manufacture CNC routers, PCB engravers, milling machines and lathes with various software, laser cutters, and also 3D printers. We do run the F1 in Schools competition, so that the link between Denford and F1 in Schools is the Chief Executive of Denford, Andrew Denford, is the proud chairman and founder of the competition, which he set up way back in 1999. So last year we celebrated our 20th year of F1 in Schools. And with F1 in Schools has come out franchises. So just going quickly to the North America F1 in Schools webpage. This is one of many franchises across the globe. So we currently operate in, I believe, 44 countries, which you can see there. We've got 100,000 students, 44 countries, but just one challenge. So last year we did the World Finals at Abu Dhabi. The World Finals always interlinks with a Grand Prix. And I believe the US National links with the Austin, Texas race. So it's always hosted at Austin, Texas to go in with the Grand Prix. Whether that will change when it starts in Miami, whether they'll link it between the two, I do not know. But just give you a brief introduction to the competition itself. So within the UK itself, not the US at the minute, in UK, we run it across 3 different levels. So if I bring up the UK site, the F1 in Schools UK site, we have about the challenge. So this is just purely in the UK at the minute. We'll move on to the US. So it says there 9 to 19. That's a little lie. It's 11 to 19, so God knows why that's there. And as you can see, Chase Carey, so we are actually partnered with F1. So we are F1's educational provider. And we run it across, just trying to find the, where is it now? The rules and regulations. So we run it across, you can see there, we've got 3 different classes. We've got an entry class, a development class, and a professional class. So the entry class is just for the students that are aged between 11 and 14. And this is like a special introductory class for students that have never seen or heard of F1 in Schools before. So this just gives them a little insight. So they get to turn up on the day, bring a car along. They can 3D print the car. They don't have to machine a car. And this just allows them to see what they could aspire to be and where they could go in the future, where F1 in Schools could lead them. So they get to compete against the professional class teams that have maybe done this for 4 or 5 years, competed in many seasons. Development class then goes on to, they have to machine a car in the UK. It's different in the US, but we'll go into the US in a minute. Development class in the UK, they have to machine a car, but it doesn't have to be cut on a Denford machine, unfortunately. It can be cut on any 3D CNC router. But they have to use the official model block, which can be bought from Lab Midwest, hopefully. we can then go on to pro class, which then it just, as the competition goes further and further down, it just gets a bit more intricate. So pro class, there's a lot more rules and regulations. They've got to be a bit more savvy with the car. They've got to read the rules and regs down to a T and make sure they hit every rule, because if they break one rule, they could lose the competition. So it's a good competition, and they get the teeth into it eventually. So going on to the North America then, I can gather from, so this is the website for F1 in Schools North America. It's a fairly new company that have done this. We've worked with several different companies in the past and it didn't really progress. So I know this is the first year that they've started up, and it's not come at a good time, the coronavirus and the rest of it, that's interrupted probably the season for this year. So it'll probably start fresh next year. In terms of dates, I'm not entirely sure. So you can see the overview is it's an F1 in Schools, the only global multidisciplinary challenge. So it's a STEM competition. Again, it says 9 to 19. It's actually 11 to 19. So it's a CAD/CAM software to collaborate, design, analyze, and manufacture and test a miniature race car. It's more like a dragster, a miniature drag racing. So there's no corners, no bends. It's a straight line race. But racing's not the only part of the competition. So you can see that it's in 44 different countries. It is the largest global STEM competition. You won't find one bigger. And we are teamed up with F1. So we in the UK, the winners of our national final actually get to go to the UK Grand Prix. They get paddock passes, so they get to go into the garages. And the rest of it, I'm not sure how it works in America. I don't know if they have been into the garages in the past. But we have actually had a couple of world finals in Austin. I think we've had 2 or 3. So where to begin? What do you need to do to become an F1 in Schools team? So you've got below is a quick overview of what you need to do. First of all, you need to assemble a team. So in order to compete, it needs to be a team of 3 to 6 people. We advise more. Obviously, the more team members you have that can collaborate and work well together, the less work you have to do as individuals. We always try and say women are better at it than men. And that's because the better managers, they like to boss people around a little bit. That's just what we've found. That's not me being sexist. That's what we've found within the competition, that the more and more women that go into the competition, the better managed the boys tend to be. So this is what we tell them in the UK, that try and give yourself some roles within the team like you would in a job. So you've always got your manager of a team, and it's the same with the F1 teams themselves. So your Williams and your McLarens and your Ferraris, they've always got that team manager, and then they've got some branches underneath that team manager. You've got someone who likes to machine and design, so they might cut the car. I can see they're a manufacturing engineer. They could be a manufacturer. So someone who's got an engineering background who thinks they might like to go down an engineering route in the future. Having an F1 in Schools team, it's a bit like having a little business. It's like a little business model. So you'd have a graphic designer, you'd have a resource manager, you might have a marketing manager. So someone who's going to go out and find some sponsorship to allow you to compete, because it isn't free. And I don't know how much it is in the US, but in the UK, we charge £75 a team. So I have got some contacts at F1 in Schools North America, and there is always this website as well that you can go and get in touch with. But first of all, you'd find your team, you'd form a team. So in a school, you can have up to 3 teams. So you could have 18 students competing at any one time. And then you'd make a plan. So like I said, it's like a little business model. You plan and prepare a business plan. So you've got to develop a budget and raise sponsorship. So we don't want the schools, well, in the UK anyway, we don't want the schools paying anything. We want the students to find the money or raise the money. So whether it's packing bags at a local supermarket, it's doing a car wash, it's going to local engineering firms and asking them to do something for them. So it's not asking for money. We don't want them to go out to businesses and ask them for money. We want them to go out and ask them to do something for them. So if I don't know if any of you ever seen any of the World Finals videos that are on YouTube or on the F1 in Schools global page. But 9 times out of 10, you'll see teams have got T-shirts printed. So we wouldn't ask them to go to a printing company and ask them for money. We'd ask them to print T-shirts, because it's cheaper for a printing company to print them T-shirts than it is to give them money. If you get what I mean by that, it's a lot cheaper for a company to offer help rather than money. So once they've raised the budget and they've figured out what they've got to spend where in terms of what they need for the full competition, they can then start to design, build and test the car, which is the next point. So design using 3D CAD, so computer-aided design. So I know the most common one in the US is SolidWorks, but if you don't have a 3D modeling software at school, Autodesk is actually free to any education. So if you've got an educational email address, Autodesk's free to download, and you can download that on as many PCs as you want. So that's a way of making it cheaper for yourself. If you don't have a 3D software, you can just download Autodesk straight from their website. And we would advise Fusion 360 because we've got quite a few tutorials around designing an F1 in Schools car on there. But always, before you start designing, read the rule book for the league that you're going to go in. So in the US, they only do development league and professional league. So they'll have a rule book for the car requirements in both of those leagues. And once you've decided on your league, you can then go in and design your car to match or to make sure it complies with all the rules and regulations within that league. So once you've designed it, you can go in and analyze that design, check its aerodynamics, and also with SolidWorks has got CFD software. So has Autodesk. Most 3D packages will have a CFD software. There is third-party CFD softwares, but I don't know how much they charge to use. But if you've already got a license of SolidWorks or Autodesk, it will normally be within that package. So then obviously, depending on what league you've entered, whether it's development or professional, in the US, if you're in the development league, you can actually 3D print a full car. So there's no need to actually manufacture it on a CNC router. Whereas if you're in a professional league, you do have to CNC machine your cars. So whether that's a selling point for us at Denford, that we also manufacture CNC routers, and the competition is a CAD CAM STEM competition, which means that you've got to cut a car. There are many routers out there, and obviously if you don't have a router, because they do cost a fair bit of money, you might have some local engineering firms or a college or a university that you can team up with. And 9 times out of 10, a university or a college will have a CNC router or a machine that you can cut a car on. And that could be a way to build links as well with your high school, to your college or to your universities, and also to your local engineering firms. It's just a way of building links, and if it gets you 1 apprenticeship a year, if it gets you 2 scholarships a year, if it allows some of your students to go to that university or college, then it's a win-win for you. And in terms of building it as well, along with the routers, we do have software that allows you to create a car for the Denfords. This is so we've got a piece of software called QuickCam Pro, which there is a video on YouTube on Denford Limited's YouTube page that it's a quick tutorial of how the step guide by guide to cutting an F1 in Schools car or ending up with an end product from your design. And then you could go into test. So where it says test here, I'll show you a little bit later on. We have got a complete F1 in Schools system, which is the every piece of equipment that's associated with the competition. And Denford does actually manufacture a wind tunnel. So we've got a smoke tunnel that Lab Midwest could provide, and I'll show you a little bit later on what equipment is associated with the competition. So in order to compete on the day of the competition day, you'd have to build your pit display, which is the same across every country that competes. They've got to build a pit display. So that's it, whether it's in the UK, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Australia. You build your pit display, and that's your that's your office for the day. That's where you're going to be situated in and around your other areas that you're competing in. You've got to submit your car to scrutineering so that the judges can measure your car, make sure it meets regulations, make sure it matches what it needs to match. You've also got a portfolio. So you can see underneath you've got submit your design portfolio, and you've also got present your designs. So the judges will ask for your designs when you go to the scrutineering. So they'll check that your car matches your design and make sure you've not changed it halfway through because it was a mad rush to get it finished. So you've always got to give yourself plenty of time. And then you've got your design portfolio. So this is 2 10-page A3 portfolios. So one's an enterprise portfolio, which is your business strategy, like it says in the brackets after that. So it's what have your roles been? What have you done to secure some funding? What sponsorship, what marketing have you done? Obviously, students these days, they'll be all big on the Instagrams, the Facebook, the Twitters, LinkedIn, the rest of it, that they can do some marketing for some companies on their social media pages and get their name out there a little bit. So it's what, not what can the business do for you, it's also what can you do for the business. So if you will go down the printing t-shirts route again, if you can get some t-shirts printed by a printing company, you can also say to them, like, once a week, twice a week, we can actually advertise you on our page and it's going to reach this many people. And then if each of them students that are in that team share it or like it or the rest of it, their followers will also see that post as well. So it's how many people they can reach as well. And then they've got an engineering portfolio, which is all about the design and how they've come to the end product, which is the car. So it's the same way that any other business works. It's them selling their end product, and their end product is their team and their car. And then it gets to the point where all the students want to be at, which is the racing. So where it says race, 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 they get, in the UK, they get 4 goes down the track at the regionals. And at the nationals, I think they get 8 goes down the track. And then that's all they need to do to compete. But if we go to compete, you've got rules and regulations. So you can see I've spoke about the development league and the professional league. So the development league, cars can be 3D printed. They can also be machined. So they can be done either way, 3D printer or CNC router. It is only, they've got a 5-minute verbal presentation. So within the competition itself, they've got five areas where they get judged. One's the pit display, which can be anything about introducing the team, just little bits on. So if you go to any exhibitions, like Matt said that Denford exhibit at the ACTE, we might have a 2 metre by 2 metre or a 4 metre by 4 metre stand. The pit display at a F1 in schools competition, it's normally just a desk, a school table. So they've got that table to exhibit. So whether they build upwards on that, that's up to them. If they put some pop-ups around it or anything like that, that's entirely up to the team themselves. But this is just a quick way of introducing the team to the fellow competitors, the judges. What have they done to overcome some issues? Have they got 5 different cars where they've gone from one car which they thought was good and then they've changed the design slightly to make it better? It's just their way of showing who they are and what they've done. Then they've got the verbal presentation. So you can see in development league, it's 5 minutes. In professional league, it's 10 minutes. So this is just a presentation again. This is the bit which knocks them off the feet sometimes, whether it's the teacher who's actually told them what to say and they get stuck when they get asked a question, or whether it's something that's done off their own back. So in terms of a teacher doing the competition, it's sort of leave it in their hands. You sit in the back of the classroom and let them do the work. You might help them out to start with getting up and running, but once they're up and running, let them do their thing and see where they get. And so this is what brings out the good speakers and the teamwork, because you'll always have one that's a bit gobby, who enjoys getting up in front of people and talking and making a bit of a clown of themselves. And then that also brings out the smiles on other people's faces in the team and allows them to speak a bit freely about what they've done. And especially if they've done all the work themselves, it'll just roll off the tongue. They'll know exactly what to say, when to say, and how to say it as well. And then they get points on the so they get scored again on the portfolios. So instead of a 10-page engineering and enterprise portfolio, it's just a 5-page in the development league. And then they get the pit display, which they get scored on, and then they also get scored on whether the cars met the regulations and also the racing. So it's a reaction time and the actual race of the track. So it's a 24-meter track that we use, but the race distance is only 20 meters. So when they come to design the cars, they've got to remember that they've got to stop it within a meter and a half, whereas they're racing at 20 meters. So they've got to make sure that there's a bit of strength in the front of the car, that it's not just going to smash when it gets to the end. And we do have deceleration units, so we do try and make it as safe as possible. And they are actually tethered down to the track with a bit of fishing line, so they're not going to go flying off the track or anything like that and do any damage. But like you say there, in Development League, it does actually say not eligible to advance to the World Finals. So your Development League in the US is very similar to our entry class in the UK. So our entry teams aren't allowed to get to the World Finals either, but our development and our professional can. But the Development League in the US is more just it's more showing them what they can do. So as a development league, they can go in and compete against professional teams, and then they can look to see what they want to do or aspire to what they need to do the next year or the year after that, to then get them through the national final and hopefully to a World Finals. So what will happen this year, I do not know in terms of World Finals, whether there will be one or it'll be stop this year and just go on to next year. So you can see important deadlines to meet. So it says at the minute the US national competition is a confirmed date in June. So whether that will go ahead with what's going on, I do not know. And as you can see, you've got downloads here. So you've actually got competition rules. So that's the rules for how the competition is run on the day. Then you've got technical rules, which will be about the car. So before you do this, whether you decide you're doing it or not, I hope you do, because the more the merrier. But what I would do, first step, before you decide on a team, or once you've decided on a team, the first step as a team would be to download the rules and regulations and go through and decide which league you want to enter in. Obviously, if it's first year, I'd probably advise development league and just step into it slightly. Don't jump 2 foot in. Just dip your toe in to start with and see if you actually enjoy it. And once you've decided you enjoy it, you can go as far as you want in the competition. And one day, hopefully, you can end up on the podium at the World Finals. So I think we had 3 teams this year from the US at the World Finals. No, in fact, we had 4, sorry. We had a team from Florida at Palmetto High School. We also had a team from Texas, from Granbury High School. And we had a team from Pittsburgh, from Brentwood High School. And what we do sometimes is we do like collab teams. So the guys who run the F1 in schools last year for the US decided that they had a 4th team that they wanted to send, but they think they needed help from another team. So this team actually got paired up with a team in Australia. So we had Wheeler High School in Georgia who got paired up with a team in Australia. And they obviously never met each other until the World Finals. So they had to work together to get where they needed to get to compete at the World Finals. And they actually came out with an award. So what I am going to show you is, if I just go off this, they're my 2 little boys, go onto the webinar and go into the Abu Dhabi World Finals event report. So this is the event report of Abu Dhabi in 2019, so last year. So we've got so this guy on the left-hand side, that's Andrew Denford. That's the chairman of the competition and also the chief executive of Denford. You've got David Croft down here, which you might recognise if you do watch F1 at all, that he's actually an F1 commentator, but he's also the host of F1 in Schools. So this is where the links are made. We have got links with F1. And you can see here that we've got these are all the teams that compete at the World Finals. So we've got Pinnacle there. If we zoom in a little bit. So we've got Pinnacle from Palmetto High School in Florida. That was team 1 from America. Got Synergy Racing from Granbury in Texas. Oh, and you've got Paradoxium there, which is the Australia and United States collaboration team. So you've got Wheeler High School in Marletta in Georgia. And then we have got a 4th one somewhere. You can see there Valkyrie Racing from Brentwood in Pittsburgh. So you actually had 4 teams last year at the World Finals, which you can probably see is more than most. So at the World Finals, day 1 competition, they do a bit of racing. You can see that's cars getting glued back together. They've been smashed on the race. You've got teams sat in front of some judges having the cars scrutineered with a portfolio. So 2 portfolios there. And then this is something that we like to see at World Finals. So you've got a Unilever Williams Engineering Academy and Assessment Centre. So Williams, which is obviously an F1 teams, and Unilever, which is a worldwide brand, they actually take on 10 apprentices from the World Finals. And I think if we look further down, we can actually see them 10. So you can see here as well that some US teams won some awards as well. So these are awards. So an Innovative Thinking Award Achievement. So that was won by Pinnacle from the USA, which was also supported by the Renault F1 team. You've got, you've got an American flag there, but with an Australian team name, so that must be a typo somewhere. So I don't know whether that was a US or Australian team that won that one. You've got the collaboration team there that won the Digital Media Award, which was actually given out by a marketing company. So that's the same marketing company that actually does the marketing for F1 in schools in the UK. And you've also got Synergy Racing for the Identity Award. So Identity Award would have been about the T-shirts printing, like we went back to at the start. About what these, looks like it's a team full of boys. So what these boys have done to get their name out there. And that was actually given out by Ferrari. And then, like I was saying earlier, the Unilever Williams Academy. So you've got 10 apprentices there with 2 Williams on the end, 2 of the Williams staff. So these 10 people here, mixture of boys and girls, are given a 5-year mentoring scheme through Williams F1, and we're actually starting to see some of the graduates come out now, and we're actually seeing people in F1 getting jobs in the F1 teams, and then that's on the final day of the competition. So this is the scary bit. This is the pinnacle of F1 in schools. It'll all start in the UK. It starts in sports hall, so it starts in a gym sports hall with a track set up and 15 teams in there. Come to nationals or world finals, you could have up to 60 teams there, and it gets scary at times. But it starts nice and easy, and then you can dig your teeth into it. And then this is the nice bit of it: they get to go out to Abu Dhabi, spend time at the Grand Prix, and enjoy themselves. So if we go back on the internet, and I'll show you, if we go on all the equipment associated with F1 in schools. So this is just found on the Denford website, and this is every piece of equipment that Denford sell that is associated with the competition. So you've got your software this is QuickCam Pro. This is the 3D software. It looks a lot different to what that looks now. That looks a bit dated. But it looks a lot different to that now, and we've done some car wizards around F1 in schools, so it's nice and easy generating your design. You've got Autodesk Flow design for aerodynamics and the software, which SolidWorks is very, very similar. So obviously you'll have your niche which you like to use, whether it's SolidWorks or Autodesk or even Pro Desktop, the rest of it. And then we get onto the CNC routers. So this is the smallest machine that Denford sell, which if you require more information, you can go direct to Lab Midwest. So you can go to Matt or Renee or the rest of the team at Lab Midwest. So we've got a Compact 1000 or a 1000 Pro. So Compact 1000, the difference between the 1000 and the Pro is just you can start to cut aluminium. So obviously, the more you want to do on the machines depends on whether you want the standard or the Pro. So you just get a better motor with the Pro. And as the routers go up, they just get bigger in size. So a Compact 1000 is a compact machine. You can get one fixture on it at a time. Whereas with the 2600, you remember get 3 to 4 fixtures on at a time. So you can start to do more work on it and bigger jobs. Then we go right up to a 6600, which has got an even bigger working envelope. Then you've got the 2 fixtures. So you've got the F1 manufacturing fixture. And then you've also got the 4th axis, which you can also put an F1, we can put a kit on there to allow you to do 4th axis F1 cars, which allows you to cut 4 sides. This fixture allows you to cut 2 sides. This one allows you to do 4. So we've also got laser cutters, which you'll probably already have a laser cutter and a 3D printer within the school. But this is the air trace visualization system that was on the back of the smoke tunnel, the wind tunnel, which allowed you to do the testing. So you can put a car inside. It's a bit like what the students have now. It's the e-cigarette with a fan at one side or a hairdryer pulling it through. So you can make your own or you can buy one. Obviously, the more you buy from us, the better. We like to see it anyway. So it's just a visualization of how your aerodynamics works, how the air flows through the car. Does it allow your car to get a lot quicker? And then this is the track. So we've got the start gates. So it's the same as F1. If any of you watch F1, you can see it's got 5 red lights like the F1 does. Each light will light up individually till they're all lit. And once they're all lit, you can see the triggers on the side. You'll press that trigger and your car will fire down the track, and that'll be the race. So the track is built up of 11 sections. So there's 9 sections and then a finish and a start. Then you get a finish gate as well, which is, you can't quite see on the picture, but where it says finish there, you've got that black dot there. There'll be a sensor either side. So one there and then one going in through there. Then it's like an LED that senses as soon as the car goes across it. But like an infrared signal. And then, so we do that, or we also do like a floor mounted system, which you can put this track on the floor and run it along a gym floor, as long as the floor's flat. So these are the start boxes. So in that black end that you can see there, it'll have like a little aluminium pin or steel pin, which will pierce the gas canister, the 8-gram gas canister that they use at the competitions. So then you've got your consumables. So this is the model block that you need to use if you're competing in professional league. So this is the official model block that Denford sell. No one else sells this other than Denford. So obviously you could go through Lab Midwest to get that. So Lab Midwest could supply you with a quote for model blocks, and we'll give Lab Midwest a price. And then these are the power packs, so the standard and the race. So the difference between the two is that the race ones are individually measured to be within 0.5 of a gram of each other, whereas these, even though it says 8 gram on the box, it could be 8.2 gram or it could be 7.8 gram and the rest of it, or 6 gram. Someone could put a wrong one in. And then there's individual kits. So this would be a full car kit. So you've got the wheels. So this would be for development class. So for UK wise, this is entry development. So this would be development league in the US. You've got the 4 wheels. You've got some axle holes. You can do a bit of sanding because you don't need to machine a car in development class. You could hand cut the car or carve the car. And then it's got a paint stand and the rest of it. So these are all the equipment that can be associated with the F1 in schools, and these can be downloaded straight from the Denford website. And in terms of contact for the F1 in schools in North America, you can fill out the contact form or get in touch with Matt at Lab Midwest, and Matt can send you direct to the guy. It is a bloke called Brian Krasendor. And he's fairly new to it himself, so he's still setting up. But I'm sure he'll be able to give you some more information on what happens next. So I suppose, thank you for listening to what I've got. I know it's a bit rushed and botched and the rest of it, but I'm happy to take any more questions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan, for taking the time and for your presentation. We do have a couple of questions. And actually a couple of these questions kind of go along with each other. So I'll ask both of them. So first, how do teams typically prepare for a competition like this? In other words, do they incorporate this program into a class, or is it an extracurricular club? And if it's a class, what is the length and how is it structured?
In terms of the UK, most teams run it as an extracurricular. So either at lunchtime or after school, an hour a week. And our season in the UK tends to run from December to March, or January to March. So they'd start when they go back in September. So our school year starts in September and runs through to July. So they'd start in September and run it up to competing in January. So maybe 12 weeks, something like that, they'd do it beforehand. Whether everyone can get there on an evening, I don't know, to be honest, but I know some do run it as they've written modules around it and run it in school. So it's entirely how much work the teacher wants to put in, whether they want to run it as part of the curriculum. It's entirely up to them. There's no right or wrong answer with that one. It can be either, but more often than not, it's an extracurricular club.
Perfect. Now, if a teacher does want to do it as part of curriculum and not as the competition, not necessarily get involved with the competitive side, but just use the F1 program as part of their curriculum, this is a clarification question. They're wondering if Denford shares a design of the car to print, and the students don't need to design the car.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't see why we couldn't, because with every machine that we sell, every router that goes out, there is actually a folder that's created on your desktop, which does have I think it's got about 10 cars in there that are demo cars. So if they were to buy a machine to cut a car, then they'd have 10 cars there already, so they wouldn't have to design it. So I don't see why we couldn't share them with you.
Okay, perfect. How are some of the ways that post-secondary and colleges and universities incorporated this program as an outreach tool for their local schools?
Right, so what we do, or what we've just started doing in the UK, is we're trying to work with as many of, have you heard of, I presume you will have done it, it's Formula Student that's run within universities.
Okay.
We try to link with as many universities in the UK that are doing Formula Student and use them Formula Student, because the competition is the same. It's just in Formula Student, they're actually producing an engine-powered car. So it's a business model, it's a business plan that they've got to do to compete. We try and get them to mentor some of the younger students, so students that could potentially go to their university. So we're working with quite a few universities at the minute, and we've brought an F1 in Schools Academies document out to send off. It's actually just getting packaged up to send today. That we've just brought that out to try and allow outreach from universities to work with as many schools as possible within their local remit.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Jordan.
No problem.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.